Russian President Vladimir Putin says his country will remain part of the world economy and has no plans to harm it. This Thursday was held the 10th high-level meeting of the Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. President of Paraguay, Mario Abdo Benitez, dismissed the Minister of the National Emergency Secretariat, Joaquin Roa, for alleged links to organized crime. Hello, from the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. Russian President Vladimir Putin says his country wants to remain part of the world economy and has no plans to harm it. Russia remains part of the world economy, Putin said during a meeting of big businesses stakeholders after he ordered troops to conduct a special military operation in Ukraine.
Russia remains part of the global economy, and in that respect, as long as it remains part of it, we are not going to damage the system in which we feel we are a part. We are not going to damage the world economic system which we are part of. It seems to me that our partners should understand this and not set themselves the task of pushing us out of this system.
President Vladimir Putin reiterated that the military operation in Donbas responds to the need to protect the civilian population of the region.
The task of pushing us out.
To other informations, early United States President Joe Biden addressed U.S. citizens following Russia's special military operation in the Donbas region. Biden declared that his government sanctions on Russia will take immediate effect. In his public speech, Biden also stated the U.S. is not acting alone. The head of state stressed Washington has created an alliance with countries from Europe who stand by the current position of the North American nation.
And transparent with the world, we've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans and cyber attacks and false pretexts so that there could be no confusion or cover-up about what Putin was doing. Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. I want to be clear, the United States is not doing this alone. For months, we've been building a coalition of partners representing well more than half the global economy. 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, to amplify the joint impact of our response.
Likewise, the White House says the latest sanctions imposed on Russia for its special military operation in Ukraine will ensure that Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision will be a strategic failure. The administration also chose not to sanction Russia's energy sector.
We've intentionally scoped our sanctions to deliver severe impact on the Russian economy while minimizing the cost to the U.S. as well as our allies and partners. To be clear, our sanctions are not designed to cause any disruption to the current flow of energy from Russia to the world. We've carved out energy payments on a time-bound basis to allow for an orderly transition of these flows away from sanctioned institutions, and we provided other licenses to provide for an orderly wind-down of business.
And India's Minister of Foreign Affairs affirmed that the main priority of his government is the evacuation of citizens in Ukraine.
Prime Minister has conveyed at the CCS meeting that the topmost priority of the government is the safety and security of Indian nationals, including Indian students, and their evacuation from Ukraine. Prime Minister is scheduled to speak to the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, shortly.
In Iran, the President Syed Ebrahim Raisi maintained a dialogue via telephone with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin, where he expressed his discontent on Ukraine's situation facing the threat of NATO expansion in Europe. In the telephonic conversation, Iranian president detailed that NATO constitutes a huge threat against stability and security of the independent European countries, but in turn expressed his hope of Ukrainian situation benefits all the nations. On his side, President of Russia Vladimir Putin expressed that special operation made in the east of Ukraine is a legitimate answer to decades of treaties of security violation and intents of Occident to circumvent the well-being of Russian people. Venezuela rejects the aggravation of the crisis in Ukraine caused by NATO's breaking of the Minsk agreements. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela expresses its concern over the worsening of the crisis in Ukraine and regrets the mockery and the breach of the Minsk agreements by NATO promoted by the U.S. The non-compliance of these agreements violated international law and generated strong threats against the Russian Federation, its territorial integrity and sovereignty, as well as prevented the good relations between neighboring countries. Venezuela calls to return to diplomatic understanding through effective dialogue among parties involved in the conflict and to avoid an escalation of it, by reaffirming negotiation mechanisms contemplated in the UN Charter in order to preserve the life and peace of citizens of these countries and the stability of the region. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. On Thursday was held the 10th high-level meeting of the Peace, Security and Cooperation within the framework of the Democratic Republic of Congo, with 7 heads of state in the capital Kinshasa. The Kinshasa summit brought together the presidents of the DRC, South Africa, Uganda, Angola, the Republic of Congo, Burundi and the Central African Republic, a diplomat said. The Peace, Security and Cooperation framework aims fostering efforts to stabilize the region. The summit was expected to express concern about logistical and other support for armed groups that remain active in the region. The next summit will be hosted in 2023 by Burundi.
In this regard, the repeated attacks carried out by armed groups against the population followed and condemned the actors who support them, whether in terms of supplies and logistic or human resources, or even evading any legal proceedings.
Continuing our efforts to consolidate peace and security in the region, and also to bring our peoples closer together through integrated projects that will surely ensure the well-being and development of our respective peoples.
Now we address other topics. The humanitarian crisis aggravates in Yemen. The UN World Food Programme needs $800 million in the next 6 months to provide full assistance to the 13 million people it has been assisting until now. During a 2-day visit to the conflict-ravaged country, the UN World Food Programme Executive Director David Beasley warned about the imminent catastrophe in Yemen as humanitarian funding dries up. The World Food Programme provides food assistance to 13 million people every month in Yemen, but it was forced to halve food rations for 8 million people at the beginning of the year due to the shortage of funding. Without an immediate influx of cash, more severe reductions will be unavoidable, and millions of hungry people may not receive food at all.
We're now running out of money, and we're cutting literally 8 million people off of food support because we don't have the support we need. Just when you think it can't get any worse, now you've got Ukraine, and Ukraine is going to really create economic deterioration around the world, oil prices, food prices.
And Spain faces the strongest drought in the last 25 years, I beg your pardon. Rainfall has been 46% lower, affecting farmers and threatening human consumption ahead of the summer, when water shortages are also expected. More details in the following report by our correspondent Sergio Rodrigo.
Juan is an avocado farmer on the tropical coast of Spain. The leaves of these fruit trees are dry due to the lack of rainfall in the area where aquifers are becoming increasingly salty. The situation is almost desperate because the lack of precipitation is causing the aquifers not to be refilled, and the conductivity is rising very high. Since we have to draw water from the wells, we have no availability of renewed water due to the lack of rainfall, and this is causing the plants to burn. Avocado is one of the plants that needs more water, but lack of rainfall threatens the sector. On the other hand, ecologists demand a halt to irrigation permits to grow tropical products. When we think about a solution to this problem, we're not satisfied with the kind of soft solutions that Andalusian government is doing to bring a little bit of water from Nerja to here, to bring a little bit of water from the Costa del Sol to here, a little bit of regenerated water at desalinization plants. The moment has come when it is necessary to consider stopping the increase of irrigation. The Viñuela Reservoir is the avocado swamp, which is at 15% of its capacity. One of the problems is the increase in temperatures, according to experts who are warning of water evaporation due to climate change. The prospects of climate change point to a more arid climate in our region. They show a trend to less rain and higher temperatures, which makes the rainfall that falls less effective because it evaporates faster. The Iberian Peninsula is experiencing one of the worst droughts in the last 25 years. Rainfall has fallen by almost half in 1 year, and the worst is expected for the summer. Lack of rainfall threatens human water consumption in Spain, which is facing one of the worst droughts in decades.
Sergio Rodrigo y Carlos Gil, TeleSUR, España.
Thank you, Sergio, for this report. And now we move on to other topics. Ravaging fires threaten wild animals in Argentina's wetlands. Conservationists at the Iberian National Park in Argentina are struggling to save animals recently reintroduced to the wetlands reserve amid a wildfire that has consumed more than half of the area. The wetland is among the largest systems of its kind in the world and is rich in biodiversity. Fire has almost reached San Lorenzo Island, where animal wildlife workers are in process of releasing giant otters and jaguars. Conservationists have recaptured some animals and put them in smaller enclosures for safety until fire passes.
Of the Iberian National Park, which has 150,000 hectares, 92,000 have already been burned. In almost two-thirds of the park, it's impressive, more than half of the national park caught fire. So obviously the damage must be large. Now it's about to enter San Alonso, and there we have two groups of otters and a female jaguar, and we are taking them out. We still need to get one more otter and the female jaguar out just in case. If we want to continue livestock breeding in Iberia, then we are going to have to continue living with fire. There is no other way. Today it's forbidden to burn, as I told another journalist, but a small producer who is raising livestock in that area, if he does not have grass for his cows to eat, and they are all going to die, who cares that it's prohibited? It's going to make a fire anyway.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. President of Paraguay, Mario Abdo Benitez, dismissed the Minister of National Emergency Secretariat, Joaquin Roa, for alleged links to organized crime. Local media reported that Joaquin Roa was dismissed after confirming that he acquired the yacht Antares in 2018, seized during Ultranza Paraguay operation through Alberto Cube, linked to the company Tapiguaray. Cube is one of the people who were arrested in the framework of operations against organized crime. Miguel Curita, current Chief of Staff of the Senate, was nominated as Roa's replacement. In Venezuela on Thursday, Attorney General Tarek William Saab announced that since 2017, more than 12,000 people were arrested for the theft and trafficking of strategic material of the nation. The highest representative of Public Prosecutor's Office offered a report showing the existence of a criminal structure dedicated to plundering and the theft of these materials, which were taken out of the country to be sold. Saab stressed that these criminal actions affected the state telephone companies, the National Electric Corporation, and Petróleos de Venezuela, and therefore the quality of life of Venezuelan people.
I want to give a very brief balance. Since our arrival at the Public Prosecutor's Office in August 2017, 12,485 people have been arrested for trafficking of strategic material, and they have also been charged. A process that goes first from the initial hearing of presentation, which is the accusation, followed by the preliminary indictment of 5,564 criminals.
In Colombia, former Senator Piedad Córdoba offered statements in the context of her incorporation as a victim of the case of crimes committed by members of the security forces during the armed conflict. Córdoba requested the special jurisdiction for peace, its incorporation as a victim in the case of this court that will initiate for crimes committed by the state agents in association with paramilitary groups and third parties during the armed conflict in the South American country.
To be recognized as a victim of so-called crimes committed by the security forces and other state agents in association with paramilitary groups and third parties. It is a public note that I was a victim of deprivation of liberty, torture, and exile by state agents in association with paramilitary groups, and that recently there has been an attempt to deny such a condition by demanding both the justice and peace process and the special jurisdiction from the Victims for Peace. I request.
Now we address other topics. In Hong Kong, COVID-19 spike prompted the enactment of emergency powers to allow in Chinese medics. On Thursday, Hong Kong's government invoked emergency powers to allow doctors, nurses, and other personnel from the Chinese mainland to help combat the spiraling coronavirus outbreak. The densely populated metropolis is in the midst of its worst-ever COVID wave, registering thousands of cases every day, overwhelming hospitals, and government efforts to isolate the infected people in dedicated units. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.